Maybe, I don't know, can I go around this way? That's a good question. Who else has a question for me? I'd like to hear what you guys are thinking about, because you're my boss. Yes? What about Arthur? Am I going to write any other books about Arthur? Is that... Oh, well, sometimes I write other books, but lately I've really been having fun being an illustrator, the way I started out a long time ago before Arthur. I've been illustrating books for Judy Sierra, she writes wonderful books like Wild About Books, and this new book that I illustrated for her called Zoozical. It'll just coming out very soon. At home, when I get back to my house and my studio, I'll be working on a book called If All the Animals Came Inside. That's a pretty fun idea, isn't it? To invite all the animals in your house. It's not pretty, but it's fun. Yeah.
Why do you hide your kids' names in your book?
Well, I got the idea to hide my kids' names in my book one day when my two sons were in my studio throwing my art supplies all over. And I said, okay, you guys, close your eyes, and I'm going to play a little game with you. So they covered their eyes, and then I spread out the book I was working on the floor of my studio, and I hid their names in really small, tiny places. And I said, now see if you can find your names. And it took them like a half hour. I thought, this is a good game. And now you guys found out about it. Yes?
I wonder how you can make these pictures of it.
How do I make the pictures? You want to hear how Arthur was invented?
Yeah.
It happened one night when I had a really, really bad day. You know, I didn't just start out as an author. I had a lot of other jobs that I got fired from. I was a truck driver and I kept getting lost. And I got fired. And then I was a short order cook in a restaurant, and they would ask me to cook really weird things. Like, what would you do if the waitress said, catch a fish, hit it with rye, and put a pair of shoes on it? What would you make?
I catch a fish, I take my shoe off, and I put it in the shoe.
You would be in big trouble. You would be fired with me. It turned out to be a tuna fish sandwich on rye bread to go. Put a pair of shoes on it meant wrap it up to go. So anyway, and then there was this brief stint as a TV art director, but I wanted to dress up the weather woman as a weather fairy. With wings, I thought, you know, it was a new look at the weather. So but then I got this job teaching in a college in Boston, and I loved my job, but one day I went to work, and in my mailbox was a little pink slip of paper, and it said, we're sorry to inform you the college is closing, and good luck and have a nice life. So I thought, gee, this is a rough night, and I went home, and my son Tolan asked me to tell him a bedtime story. And I said, well, what should we have a story about? And he said, tell me a story about a weird animal. And I don't know why, I guess I was thinking alphabetically. I thought of aardvarks. And he said, what's his name? And I said, his name is Arthur. And let me get a pen here. I have a big pen in my bag here somewhere. It's here, it really is. There it is. Thank you. I like to draw with this because, yeah, this is a big pen and has a wide point on it, so that way you guys can really see the line back there. Okay, this is what the first Arthur looked like. He had a long nose, and I put his mouth down here, 2 little dots for his nostrils, and then I put his eye up here, and it looked like he was worried about something. And that gave me the idea for the story. He's worried about his nose. If I had a nose like that, I would be worried too. And then I put his ears on, and Tolan said, Dad, his ears look like ping pong paddles. Well, they do, don't they? Yeah. And then I put his shirt on so he could go to school. And Tolan said, Dad, aardvarks do not wear shirts. He was going to a Montessori school at the time. But Arthur's different now. What's different about Arthur? His nose got a little smaller, and his face got rounder. The more I drew him, I wasn't thinking about it, it just happened. But something else is different. What is it? He's the only animal that wears clothes. You're like, yeah, well, all my animals wear clothes in my book. Except when they're in their underwear. Why is that word so funny? What else is different about Arthur? He's got glasses. I get all my ideas for my stories from things that happen in real life. And I was at a school one day, and I was really worried about this second grader. He was running down the hall really fast, and I thought he's going to trip and fall. But he didn't. Something worse happened. He went up to a door, and he didn't read the sign, and he ran inside. And it's too bad, too, because on the door was a sign that said, "Girls' Room." And then, all of a sudden, there was a lot of screaming. The girls were going, "Get out of here! This is the girls' room! What are you doing in here? You're a boy!" And he was so embarrassed. He ran out, and I watched him as he went over to his coat pocket, and he reached inside, and he took out a pair of glasses, and he put them on, and his teacher wrote me a letter at the end of the school year, and she said, he never, ever took his glasses off again, ever. And I said, this is a good story. So now when I draw Arthur, I always start with, this is the secret formula I'm sharing with you right now. It's sort of like the secret sauce. We'll put two letter O's next to each other, hook them together, large letter U, upside down letter U, and a smaller letter U for his what? Mouth. And two dots for his nose. And two dots, bigger dots up here for his eyes. And two lines for his eyebrows. And then we'll add those ping pong paddle ears. Okay, this is completely optional, but if you want to, you can add a little squiggle here for his t-shirt. And that's how you draw Arthur. He's really easy to draw. You guys can do it. Yes?
Why did Arthur, turn into, a bear over the years? Because
A bear? Well,
Well,
I know, he's different. I don't know why.
because
He just changed a little
we
bit.
had the books in our classroom.
The first one.
Yeah.
I know, someone did a chart for me, the evolution of Arthur. It's like the evolution of man. You know, first he has these long arms that drag on the ground, and then he's walking upright. And I've been drawing Arthur for 35 years. I can't believe it. I thought maybe 2 years at the most when I started out. Yeah. Yes.
How did you think of the characters' names in Arthur?
I collect names, and I keep them in one of my idea drawers in my studio. I have a lot of drawers, and I go in there when I need ideas for new characters. I don't know why names are sort of interesting to me. And people remind me of animals. I think that's why I started using them as my characters. Yes?
Why don't you ever put yourself in Arthur?
Why don't I ever put myself in? I don't know. I kind of am these characters. I have to kind of think what they would say, what they would do when I write the stories, so I'm kind of inside all of them. The most fun person to be inside of is DW. Yeah, I love spending time inside her brain. She is so funny. Yes?
What's your favorite Arthur book you wrote?
My favorite?
Yeah.
My favorite? Well, I love the fact that I never would have written Arthur's Underwear without kids telling me to write it. For about 5 years, I finally listened to them. I like Arthur's Teacher Trouble. I love to read that to kids. I like Arthur Writes a Story. And I like the new book. Should we read the new book?
Yeah!
All right. Let's